Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Senate Chamber this morning. I would like to call this session now to order. It's our second regular session, and today is September 21st, 2023, and it's exactly 10:45 in the morning. My apologies for a 15-minute delay on the session. Before we take the roll call, I would like to ask everyone to please put your phones on silent mode or turn it off, and also to stand for a moment of silence. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Presente.
Senator Cruz,
Here.
Madam President,
Here.
Senator Hofschneider,
Yagi.
Senator Kim Neighbors,
Here.
Senator Mangokia,
Geiger.
Senator Manglonya Donald, Senator Manglonya Paul, Senator Mindola,
Here.
Madam President, all 9 members are present.
With all 9 members present, quorum is well established to conduct this Senate session this morning. We now move on to item B of the agenda under public comments. If there's anyone out there that would like to make a public comment on the agenda items, please, you may step up and state your name, the entity you are representing, and if you have a written comment, to please provide the Sergeant at Arms so that we could make that comment a part of the documents for the legislature and the Senate. And you have 5 minutes to make your comments. Thank you.
Good morning, half a day. Antiro Senate, Madam Senate President Edith De Leon Guerrero, and honorable members of this Senate August body. For the record, my name is Jean Paul B. Regis, Acting Special Assistant for Administration under the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Governor Arnold I. Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am here to extend the administration's appreciation and express our gratitude to you, Madam Senate President, as well as to your Committee on Senate Executive Appointments and Governmental Investigations, Chairwoman Selena R. Babalta, for the time and effort you've all put into reviewing and examining our nominees. Ms. Phyllis S. Chong to serve as a as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees, Mr. Michael S. Sablon, Mr. Francisco M. Robalaman, and Ms. Tanya Sophia P. David to serve as members of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Your untiring effort on entertaining these nominees are just a step forward as the administration complete the vacancies for all boards and commissions. Again, Madam Senate President, and to you, honorable members of these full esteemed Senate body, Governor Arnold I. Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang extend their sincere appreciation for your understanding and favorable consideration on behalf of our nominees here today. Thank you. Si Zeus Mosi Angeliso.
Thank you, Mr. Regis, for your comment. Anybody else? Please state your name, the entity you're representing, and comment on the agenda items for this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam President, Senators, esteemed members of the Senate, and fellow citizens. My name is Raymond M. Muña, Chairperson of the Civil Service Commission. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Senate who recently, thank you, Senators, for helping us with our budget, just for the record. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the Office of the Attorney General for assisting us with legal services review. Again, the services from them and your assistance is greatly appreciated by the Civil Service Commission. So I stand before you on behalf of the Commission, grateful for the opportunity to address Senate Bill 23-41. We extend our appreciation for the chance to express our concerns, a sentiment shared in our written comments submitted on September 15. While we understand the noble intent behind the bill, we find ourselves unable to endorse it. Our opposition is rooted in the potential conflict with Public Law 17-80, raising questions of constitutionality and setting a precedent with far-reaching implications. Exempting the Attorney General's office from civil service regulations could open doors to partisan hiring, undermining its nonpartisan standing. Furthermore, exemptions from the civil service system can lead to significant shifts in hiring practices and costs, impacting personnel-related expenses. We urge a thorough evaluation process to determine the suitability of positions for civil service or non-civil service status, ensuring equity. In these challenging financial times, enacting this bill may trigger salary structure revisions in the Attorney General's office, adding to fiscal pressures. We recognize the goal of autonomy and independence, but believe comprehensive regulations and a justifiable salary scale are prerequisites. In conclusion, the Civil Service Commission stands firm in its opposition to Senate Bill 23-41. We implore you to consider our concerns as you deliberate on this matter. Feel free to reach out if further clarification or information is required. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Mr. Munya, for your comments, and please provide us a copy of your comment this morning. The public comment period is still open. Anybody else that would like to make a comment on the agenda items, you may proceed. Okay, we are officially closing this section of the agenda under public comments. Moving on to item C, reading and approval of the journal, clerk. I'm sorry, floor leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we have two journals under item C. We have Senate Journal number 23-15, second day, second regular session dated August 10, 2023, and Senate Journal number 23-16, third day, second regular session dated September 7, 2023. I move for its adoption.
There's a motion to adopt Senate Journals number 23-15 and Senate Journal number 23-16, and it has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? Ready? All those in favor say aye. Nays? Both journals 23-15 and 23-16 is hereby adopted. Before we proceed, I also want to recognize this morning our Senate Legal Counsel, Antoinette Villagomez, Senate Clerk Dolores Bermudez, Senate Legislative Assistant Jolene Tagobel Duenas, and Devin McRae is on leave right now, IT Manager Assistant Jonathan Diaz, Sergeant at Arms Benjamin Terlahi, and Brendan Maglonia. We're also live on cable channel 23 and live on the CNMI Legislature's YouTube channel, which will be shared on the CNMI Legislature's Facebook page as well. Moving on to item D of the agenda, messages from the Governor. Clerk.
We have one, Madam President, Governor's Message 23-157.
Thank you, Clerk. Any comments from the members? None. Moving on to item E, communications from the judiciary. There's none. Item F, communications from the heads of executive departments. Clerk.
We have two, Madam President, 23-16 and 17.
Any comments from the members? None? Okay, members, if there's no objections, in the interest of time, I would move on to item M of the agenda, reports of standing committees, and I now recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Under item M, we have 6 committee reports. First, Standing Committee Report number 23-46 from the Committee on EAGI, reporting on the executive appointment of Ms. Phyllis Salmon Chong to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees, representing the 3rd Senatorial District. I move for its adoption.
Thank you, floor leader. There is a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 23-46. Any second? Discussions from the members? I recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
This is a small state, Madam President. As to Committee Report 2346, reporting on the nomination of Ms. Phyllis Salmon Chong. Ms. Chong was nominated on June 23rd, 2023, and her credentials were evaluated in a committee hearing on September 12th, 2023. During the examination of Ms. Chong's credentials, she received no oppositions to her nomination and in fact received many oral and written testimonials in support of her nominations, including from the mainland. Ms. Chong is a CNMI daughter who received her undergraduate degree from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana and her advanced degree in social work from Loyola University of Chicago in Illinois. Ms. Chong has extensive managerial experience in her chosen field of social work, including directly managing ambulatory care and social work services at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, Illinois. She was also a team leader at a home hospice care facility in Glendale, Illinois, and social work clinical leader at Northwestern University. She is a published professional, and her qualifications include an admitted licensed clinical social worker in the CNMI in the state of Illinois and an accredited case manager in social work in good professional standing. The EAGI committee shares the administration's confidence in Ms. Chong's professional and academic experiences, and the committee recommends the adoption of Committee Report 2346 to confirm Ms. Phyllis Semen Chong to serve as a trustee of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any other comments from the members? None? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
Hungan.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Hungan.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofino,
Ungan.
Senator Manglona Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglona Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendiola,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes, Standing Committee Report number 23-46 is hereby adopted by the Senate and also confirms Ms. Phyllis Semen Chong to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 23-47 from the Committee on EAGI, reporting on the executive appointment of Mr. Michael S. Sablon to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. I move for its adoption.
There's a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 23-47. It has been seconded. Any comments from the members? Recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
Sizus Masietalu, Madam President, as to Committee Report 2347, reporting on the nomination of Mr. Michael Skilling Sablon, a nominee to serve as a board member of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Mr. Sablon was nominated on July 27, 2023, and his qualifications, experience, and education, as well as professional conduct, was scrutinized in a committee meeting simultaneously conducted with Mr. Francisco Mareham Reboliman and Ms. Tanya Peters David on September 12, 2023. Mr. Sablon is no stranger to the public and private sectors in the CNMI and absolutely needs no introduction to this body. His credentials and experience are well known in the communities he has served in, including Guam, California, Micronesia, and our very own U.S. Commonwealth. Mr. Sablon is not only a CNMI son, but a proud Micronesian son through his mother's Palauan lineage. A graduate of the University of California at Los Angeles and a U.S. certified public accountant, Mr. Sablon's 40-plus years between his public and private sector experience, including as a former public auditor for the CNMI government, vice president and chief financial officer of local businesses, and prior tenure as a member on the CDA board, provides him not only a passing familiarity, but an extensive and wide-ranging understanding of the financial needs to develop the CNMI's economy. As a former public auditor for the Commonwealth government, Mr. Sablon successfully attained over 30 convictions for the prosecution of misconduct and corruption of government officials. The EAGI committee in particular is grateful that a man of his financial proficiency has decided to lend his expertise once again to the CETA board, and has no doubts that Mr. Sablon's wealth of technical financial knowledge complements the CETA mission. It is the EAGI's position that serving on the CETA board as a member is the right fit for Mr. Sablon, CETA, and the CETA government, and thus emphatically consents to the adoption of Committee Report 2347 to confirm Mr. Sablon's nomination to serve as a member of the CETA board. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any other comments from the members? Ready? Recognize Senator Neighbors.
Thank you. I would just like to thank Mr. Sablan for accepting this opportunity and giving again his time and service to the people of the CNMI as he's done for so many years. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Neighbors. Any other comments from the members? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Balta,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hapsnyder,
Again.
Senator King Neighbors, Senator Magofnia,
Unggan.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendiola.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes, Standing Committee Report number 23-47 is hereby adopted by the Senate body and confirms Mr. Michael S. Sablan to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 23-48 from the Committee on EAGI, reporting on the executive appointment of Mr. Francisco M. Rebalaman to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. I move for its adoption.
Second.
There is a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 23-48. It has been seconded. Any comments from the members? Recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
Caesar Smalsey, Madam President, as to Committee Report 2348, reporting on the appointment of Mr. Francisco Mareham Rebalaman to serve as a member of the CETA Board as well. The nominee's credentials were evaluated in a committee hearing on September 12, 2023. Mr. Rebalaman's vast experiences in government service range from being a director of finance overseeing federal grants under the agency formerly known as the NMI Trades Institute, Director of Division of Environmental Quality, Executive Assistant for Carolinian Affairs, and he is currently wearing 2 hats as the Senior Policy Advisor for Governor Palacios and as the Acting Secretary for the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. His wide range of knowledge and topics in every position he has attained, his willingness to improve the agencies he has served in whatever capacity, has given him a distinct perspective and institutional knowledge to complement the diligence required when facilitating the technical assistance needed for public and private enterprises for the benefit of the CNMI's economic welfare. During his confirmation hearing, he articulated and expanded his goals for the agency to allow for growth and improvements in the services the department provides to other agencies and the community at large. The EAGI committee reports favorably for the confirmation of Mr. Francisco Rebalaman to serve as a member of the CETA board. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any other comments from the members? Recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to state for the record that I also wanted to acknowledge Mr. Rebalaman's acceptance of this position. It seems like he's wearing multiple hats and he still has the energy to continue to respond for our CNMI. So I'd just like to thank you for that. I yield for now.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. Any other comments from the members? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Hungan.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hapsnyder,
Again.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Unggan.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendiola,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes, Standing Committee Report number 23-48 is hereby adopted by the Senate body and also confirms Mr. Francisco M. Rebalaman to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 23-49 from the Committee on EAGI, reporting on the executive appointment of Ms. Tanya Sophia M. David to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District. I move for its adoption.
There is a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 23-49. It has been seconded. Any comments from the members? Recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
Caesar Smalsey, Madam President, as to Committee Report 2349, reporting on the nomination of Ms. Tanya Peters David to serve as a board member of CETA. The nominee appeared before the committee on September 12, 2023. Ms. David has over 26 years of banking experience. Ms. David's work and experience says it all. She started from the ground up to build her career, and that perseverance has paid off today. She is the current branch manager of the Saipan branch of Bank of Guam. The fact that she has received numerous leadership awards throughout her career and her educational career, and in her civic duties as a volunteer for many organizations, speaks to the diligence and commitment Ms. David has on a personal level. Ms. David's experience brings a unique perspective from the eyes of a banker, and her confirmation today not only shatters another glass ceiling, and this legislature appreciates and looks forward to Ms. David's invaluable contributions to the CETA board. The EAGI unanimously recommends the adoption of Committee Report 2349 to confirm Ms. Tanya Peters David as a member of the CETA board. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any other comments from the members? None? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Revolta,
Pungan.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hoffschneider,
Again.
Senator King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Maglonia,
Pungan.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendiola.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes, Standing Committee Report number 23-49 is hereby adopted by the Senate body and also confirms Ms. Tanya Sophia P. David to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, representing the 3rd Senatorial District. At this moment, we're going to take a short recess. Okay, we are back from our short recess. We're going to proceed back to item M of the agenda to dispose the remaining two items, 5 and 6. I now recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Senate President. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 23-50 from the Committee on Judiciary, Government and Law, reporting on Senate Bill number 23-41 to ensure the autonomy and independence of the elected office of the Attorney General by exempting employees from the civil service system. Members, at this time, I move to withdraw Senate Committee Report number 23-50 and refer back to the committee. Thank you.
There's a motion to withdraw from calendar Senate Bill number 23-41, Understanding Committee Report number 23-50, and has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? Recognize Senator Salina Babauta.
I oppose the motion to, or I offer a secondary motion to oppose the primary motion. I'd like to know also why, or the justification to withdraw the committee report from today's agenda. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Is there any second to the secondary motion? Okay, any further discussions? Members? Recognize Senator Paul.
Thank you, Madam Press. Maybe I overlooked the letter from the Civil Service Chairman during the public hearing in which we discussed this bill 2341. I'm surprised that he wasn't there at that public hearing code, and we discussed this thoroughly. I believe it was Deputy Attorney General Lilian Tenorio that came in and was in full support. But I just read the chairman's letter and heard his testimony this morning. However, I went back to read the Office of the Attorney General's submission signed by the AG. The AG raised some alarming statements here, and I quote, the exception would allow the office to promulgate its own personal regulations to govern the employment of its staff. As the Attorney General for the past 9 years, I have faced several instances in which my employees have faced intimidation and non-renewal of contracts as a consequence of decisions that I've made. End quote. This is alarming, but I remember specifically during the discussion of this bill, I asked the question, what about the Office of the Public Auditor? Because I'm concerned also about the Office of the Public Auditor, make sure that they're included. And they're saying that it is actually, in fact, included in another section of the code. And as well as, I believe, several other agencies that are exempted. So unless we want to return it back to the committee to hear further deliberation, I think, this is already approved by the committee, unless I guess the floor leader is making the motion to withdraw it and return it back. Is that so we can have a public hearing? Is that because I understand there's no public hearing, right? It was just a committee meeting and this was listed as one of the agenda, or was it really a public hearing for this bill? I don't recall.
Thank you, Senator Paul, for your comment. I would now recognize the floor leader to respond to Senator Paul's question. Your withdrawal, please restate that motion.
Thank you, Madam President. The motion was to withdraw the committee report at this time and refer it back to committee for further discussion as requested by some civil service members.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I now recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I agree with the floor leader, given the new light that the Civil Service Commission just kind of posed on this matter about the Attorney General's office and the autonomy. The issue that we have is that we need to ensure that we hear some of these comments, especially the civil service, because if I understand this correctly, it may affect those employees as well that fall under the AG, because what the Civil Service Commission does is protect these employees. And if there is issues of intimidation, then I think that's something that should be addressed to the civil service and ensure that we have hearing. So I think it's something that's important for us to go back to the committee and just kind of highlight some of these issues that were raised. Thank you, Madam President. I yield for now.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola, for your comments. I now recognize Senator Donald Manglona.
Thank you, Madam President. While I appreciate some the members' concerns, as well as the chairman for the Civil Service Commission, I mean, included in the AG's letter, he states that to remain competitive, his office must have the flexibility to offer competitive conditions of employment than the civil service system tailored toward attracting qualified attorneys to work in his office. He further states that, please note that current civil service classified employees within our office, all of whom hold non-attorney positions, will have the option to remain under the jurisdiction of the CCSC or convert to the personal system that this bill will authorize. And so even if we return it back to the committee, we've already heard from the chairman of Civil Service Commission. His concerns were addressed in the AG's letter. And so I think it's a matter of a policy call, whether members, whether this concern has been addressed through the AG's comments. I certainly feel so. This autonomy is basically to attract attorneys that can see these cases through. Administrative personnel will still be protected under the Civil Service Commission if they so choose to stay within the civil service benefits. And so I hope that I'm not sure what the committee will further do given these two different informations from the civil service and the AG, but I think this is this could be a policy call on the floor if we so choose to act on it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Manglona. I now recognize again Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Madam Press. Just in light of Senator Manglona's comment, the problem that I see with this, and it's something that we need to address in the committee, is that now we open this line of offering whether you want to stay civil service or fall under the AG's Attorney General's office's employment contract regulation. The problem that I see with that, and I think we need to talk about this thoroughly, is because we're going to have other agencies that might want to start going down this avenue, and we're going to have a lot more problems. I mean, for example, let's just talk about DPS, for example. If the investigative body there wants to be an autonomy, now why can't we give them that benefit if we're going to give the Attorney General's that benefit? So something that we need to address. Thank you. I yield for now.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. Any other
Just-
comments? I
just-
recognize Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Thank you, Madam Press. Just to clarify the point that was made by the Vice President with respect to the letter by the AG, is it embedded in the legislation? Or is it inclusive in the legislation, or is it just a... I'm just, because, if we want to say if they so choose, then I'm trying to...
This
see-
will be embedded in the regulations that the OAG will have to promulgate.
Okay, the reason why I asked, thank you, Vice President. The reason why I asked is we just recently passed a new pay scale for civil service employees that are in the government, and to that extent, I'm just wanted to get the rationale behind removing to provide the autonomy of the agency, and whereby if the issue is salary, then isn't that isn't it? I guess the question that I have is, are they having a difficult time also attracting, despite the new salary scale that we recently passed in the previous public law? I mean, I guess that's why they're requesting. So perhaps, Mr. President, Madam President, we need to invite Mr. Munya in and clarify further what their concern is, so that we can also better make a sound decision to with regards to this intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. And that's pretty much overall the same concern that I have. I am alerted that there's about 30 employees within the Attorney General's office that are civil service currently. And being a former labor secretary, I'm always with the passion of protecting people's rights, employment rights. And if it's absent in legislation, although Senator Manglona, it's mentioned that the AG would promulgate rules and regulations, I think that we need to protect the employees regardless whether that option is offered or not within the legislation itself, to make sure that they truly understand what they are losing. Moving into an accepted service contract, if the intent is to attract a much more qualified attorneys for the Commonwealth, then so be it. Let's state that in the legislation. But 30 individuals, which is, I understand, primarily are from the 3rd Senatorial District, from Saipan, that will be affected by this legislation, the risk of losing a job is very high at the moment. And I truly believe that this committee can do a better job in making sure that the protections are in there to make sure that the 30 employees' lives are not jeopardized as a result of a legislation on a first and final reading. No further discussions. Recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you. And I want to also thank the chairman of the Civil Service Commission, Mr. Ray Munya, for making the time to come out to this session to engage his comments in opposition for this bill. And while we did not hold a public hearing, it was a public meeting open to the public, including the Civil Service Commission, who did not appear before the committee. The bill was marked up in a committee meeting on September 14th, 2023. And as to comments and concerns made by members of the Senate, I don't recall a recent bill to pass a new pay scale for the government, so forgive my ignorance on that. And also, there are only 4 employees that are classified employees under the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General has assured in writing that these 4 employees have the option to remain as civil service employees. And pursuant to Legislative Initiative 17-2, approved in a referendum in 2012 by the community at large, and CNMI Public Law 18-46, enacted on April 23, 2014, by the late Governor Eloy Songao Enos, the legislature found that in order for the Attorney General's office to function independently, it was necessary to amend Article 3, Section 11 of the NMI Constitution to provide for an independent, non-partisan elected Attorney General free from political interference or influence. I also want to state for the record that, and to assure the classified employees of the Attorney General's office, that those who are holding classified positions have the option. It is their choice, not ours, to opt in to convert to an accepted service contract. I think the employees, that decision rests solely on the employees for their own choice, for their own well-being. As to the civil service and OPM's concerns of political influence in the hiring, Public Law 17-80, as they alluded to, placed the Office of Personnel Management within the Civil Service Commission to reestablish a non-political and independent civil service system. However, it is common knowledge and validated by the hiring practices under ex-Governor Ralph Torres that there was wanton and unrestrained hiring, political hiring, most especially with federal monies, COVID, CARES, FEMA, ARPA, And the mere fact that the commissioners are appointed by the governor, a highly partisan official, is extremely problematic for the Civil Service Commission, as we have all witnessed. And their arguments, I think, to being free from political influence or interference falls moot. I yield for now, Madam President.
Madam Press?
Thank you, Senator Babauta. I now recognize Senator Paul.
Yeah, can we have a short recess so we can talk about maybe if it's possible to solve this by making an amendment? Short recess, Madam Press?
Short recess, please. Thank you, Senators. We are now back from our short recess, and we will go back to the secondary motion objecting the withdrawal of Standing Committee Report number 23-50 on Senate Bill number 23-41 for referral back to committee. And we will take, before we take a vote, let me recognize Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Just point of clarification, Madam President, as far as the order of operation, as far as the subsidiary motion, can we just vote on the original motion by the floor leader? Since there is a division on the floor, I think it's quicker if we just take a vote on the on the original motion. So that would set the guidance of what to do with this committee report. I'm just saying, instead of,
Yes.
So
Thank you,
maybe the
Senator.
floor leader, the council can elaborate more on this. So.
Before we get to council, I recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you. I believe according to the rules of procedure, you must entertain the secondary motion before you go back to the primary motion.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Thank you. Thank you, council. Okay, so we are back again on the secondary motion objecting the withdrawal of Standing Committee Report number 23-15 with respect to Senate Bill number 23-41. Clerk, please call the roll.
Point of clarification. So a yes vote means to reject the
Yes,
primary.
correct.
motion. Thank you. My vote is yes.
Senator Cruz?
No.
Senator Hofschneider?
Just again to clarify, a yes mean to put it back to committee or
To
to
leave it on the.
leave it on the floor. So no.
Senator King Neighbors?
No.
Senator Magofnia? Senator Manglonia Donald?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul? Senator Mendiola?
No.
Senator Magofnia?
Just, may I ask just quick clarification? If I may?
Go ahead, Senator.
Will the amendment really take that long to do? It
shouldn't.
shouldn't, right? So
Just express your vote on the motion on secondary, yes or no?
yes.
Did you vote? Okay.
Madam President?
No.
Madam President, 5 members voting no, 4 members voting yes.
With 5 members voting no, 4 members voting yes, the secondary motion is hereby defeated. Now we go back to the primary motion to withdraw the Standing Committee Report number 23-50 with respect to Senate Bill number 23-41 to refer it back to committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Madam President, do we have discussion on that main motion?
Recognize Senator Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam President. I think to address some of the concerns, it's as simple as if you look at page 2, an amendment to the exemption of civil service applicability, we can simply do a subsection of 15 and put any staff willing or any staff may choose to opt out of the exemption. Is that something that we can consider if that's the only concern that members have in terms of ensuring that staff have that option to choose whether they stay within the civil service or transition over to an accepted service? I mean, it's as easy as adding a subsection to 15 and that these personnel, these administrative personnel or non-attorney personnel could stay within the Civil Service Commission and not be included as part of the exemption. Is that something that members are willing to consider as an amendment? I mean, even if it goes back to committee, that may be the only amendment made so that we can address that issue. Is that something that can be considered before we send it back to committee? I mean, it's as simple as that one line amendment. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. Recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Madam President. And just in addition to your recommendation, would the members also consider language in where if the civil service member opts to convert to an accepted service, that maybe on their contract it says that it's termination with cause and not without cause, right? Because if that's one of the concerns that they are worried about, termination without cause, certainly we can request for that to be.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. And that is the reason why the recommendation to go back to committee to fix the language to make sure that those protections are clearly in place and legally in place. It's the only thing that we ask. And we can always bring it back again to the Senate session for vote. With no further discussions, clerk, please call the roll.
Point of order, Madam President.
Recognize Senator Babauta.
I would like to offer another motion to amend the bill on the floor today to include language to address everybody's concern here, to include language that protects the classified employees in the Attorney General's office.
There is a secondary motion to the primary motion to address the concerns as an amendment on the floor. Any second to that? Discussions? None. Clerk, please call the roll on that secondary motion to the primary.
Senator Babalta,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
No.
Senator Hochschneider. No. Senator King Neighbors, Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul. Yes. Senator Mendola,
No.
Madam President.
No.
Madam President, five members voting no, 4 members voting yes.
With 5 members voting no, 4 voting yes on the secondary motion to the primary with motion is hereby defeated. Now we're back again to the primary motion to withdraw and refer it back to committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Is there any discussion offered for the motion?
I believe we have discussed it already.
So my
That-
vote
that's the
will
reason why
be
you offer your
no. I
secondary motion.
oppose the committee report being sent back to committee. We offered a motion to amend it on the floor to address everybody's concerns, but it was defeated. So my vote will be no, to oppose the referral back to the JGL committee.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hochschneider. Senator King Neighbors. Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
No.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendola,
Yes to send it back. Yes.
Madam President.
Yes.
Madam President, 7 members voting yes, 2 members no.
With 7 members voting yes, 2 members voting no, Standing Committee Report number 23-15 in relation to Senate Bill number 23-41 is going back to committee. I recognize floor leader for item number 6.
Thank you, Madam President. May I please request for a quick recess?
Short recess, please. Thank you, members. We are back from recess. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 23-51 from the Committee on Judiciary, Government, and Law, reporting on House Bill number 23-22, version HS1, to establish an investigative division of the Office of the Attorney General, codify investigative subpoena power, and improve the investigation of cases involving public corruption. Again, at this time, I move to withdraw Senate Committee Report number 23-51 and refer back to the committee.
There's a motion to withdraw Standing Committee Report number 23-15 regarding House Bill number 23-22, HS1. Any second? It has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? Recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
I'm offering a secondary motion to withdraw the primary motion and not send it back to committee. I have heard no justification to do so at this time, so I'm offering that motion.
Thank you. There is a secondary motion offered to withdraw the primary motion and not send it back to committee and has been seconded. Any discussions? Recognize Senator Paul.
Okay, I guess the issue here is this bill is before us through the committee report. So is this something that we can vote on the committee report, and then when the bill is because we're not technically passing the bill, right? If we vote for the committee report, we're just basically saying we agree with the intent, and then once it's placed on the bill calendar, then that would be the time to either vote for it or against it, or make floor amendments on the legislation. This is just a committee report, and if the intent is to give it back to the committee, I think for this particular bill, it doesn't serve any purpose because the committee pretty much had extensive discussion on this legislation. So we can support this and give it back to the committee, but then we can do a repetitive public hearing again and then give it back to the Senate floor again. But the thing is, I believe if there are concerns, it would be good to at least have a discussion on the committee report so that the committee can then get a sense of what are some of the concerns or amendments that we need to discuss in the committee. Because if we call for a committee hearing, if the same people show up or nobody shows up, it's just delaying something that we should be addressing. So my point is, this is under the standing committee report. We can vote for it, reject it, but I think the motion should not be to give it to the committee unless there at least let's discuss it to know some of the concerns so that we can then generate further discussion in the committee level, basically. Otherwise, we give it back to the committee. Okay, so let's give instruction to the committee, like go for a public hearing on this legislation or address like in the other legislation, the point that we need to discuss next time is the non-attorney, right? But for this one, I kind of like want to hear comments so that then I can ask the right questions also if the committee should decide to hold a public hearing. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Council, a short recess, please. Okay, there's, I guess, enough discussions on item number 6, and we are still on the secondary motion to withdraw the primary motion and not send the bill back to committee. And there's no further discussions to this. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta?
Uh, Thank you, Senator Mangonia. Because I have not heard any justification to return this back to the committee, I am voting yes on my motion to not return it back to the committee or to withdraw the primary motion.
Senator Cruz?
Madam President, if we're going to withdraw from the main motion, I'll agree to that, but we put on the floor for a vote. I'll agree with your withdrawal of not going back to the committee, but we put on the floor and vote on the bill.
We are entertaining the secondary motion to the primary motion
Yeah,
right now,
I'll agree
Senator.
to withdraw from the primary to send to the committee.
Senator, we're taking a vote right now.
That my vote is yes.
Yes? Okay.
Senator Hofschneider?
Madam President, clarification.
Recognize
If it's a
Senator
yes
Hofschneider.
vote, then it's a no, but if it's a no vote, it's a yes.
That's right, Senator Cruz.
So the question again is to not to refer it back.
Right. The secondary motion to the primary is not to withdraw and not send it back to committee.
Point of clarification, I think that was two motions you stated.
No, you
Senator
made a
President, you said-
motion.
The
Chris?
secondary motion is to not withdraw it and to not send it
right,
back to
se-
committee.
right.
Is that two motions, council?
No,
in
that's
one-
just your one motion. Yeah. You had a running motion. Uh, Senator Ju?
I'll yield for now and.
Okay.
so-
Senator King Neighbors?
Yes.
Senator Magosnia?
Yes, with the understanding that the committee report will be adopted, but the bill will be voted on the floor. Yes.
Recognize Senator Babauta.
This is getting confusing, I think, for everybody. Council, I'd like to ask you for your advice. Can we condition our vote that in that manner? I will vote yes, but on the condition that we adopt the standing committee report and vote on the bill today,
No.
with the understanding that, but that's a condition of your vote.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, just accept the yes or the no, everything else.
Okay. Everything else is white noise. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Manglona Donald?
Yes.
Senator Manglona Paul? Senator Mendiola?
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider?
Good.
Madam President? Yes. Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes to not withdraw the primary motion and not, we're voting on the secondary motion here.
And the secondary motion was to withdraw.
To withdraw the primary motion and not send the committee report and the bill back to committee. That is the secondary motion. We are voting on your motion.
Yes.
Yes.
The meat of that motion is to not, I mean, to withdraw.
The primary motion.
Yes.
That's correct.
So,
Short recess,
Counsel.
please.
yes. So
We're back from recess. Clerk, please restate the motion, the vote counts.
Madam President, 9 members voting yes. Offered by Senator Babauta to not withdraw the Standing Committee Report 2351, offered by Floor Leader.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes to withdraw the primary motion and not refer the report back to committee is hereby passed by this body. I recognize now the floor leader to make the proper motion for the adoption of the Standing Committee report.
Thank you, Senate President. Again, Standing Committee Report number 23-51 from the Committee on JGL, reporting on House Bill number 23-22 under HS1 to establish an investigative division of the Office of the Attorney General, codify investigative subpoena power, and improve the investigation of cases involving public corruption. I move for the adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to adopt Standing Committee report number 23-41. Again, clarification, only for the adoption of the Standing Committee report, and has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? Recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to state for the record that Guam, Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, Boise, Texas, and many other states and jurisdictions have the same legislation on their books. And this is, this bill is not novel to the CNMI. And attorneys general derive their powers from constitutional, statutory, and common law. And there is no clear division between any of these authorities because one complements the other. Most jurisdictions, the Attorney General's office has plenary authority to issue and enforce requests for information so long as it is germane to an investigation or some other legitimate purpose. In order to accomplish their objectives and carry out their duties as prescribed by the NMI Constitution, this bill is necessary. An administrative subpoena authority is the power vested in the administrative agencies to compel testimony or the production of documents or both in aid of the agency's performance of their duties. The committee recognizes that subpoenas are critical to investigations and is essential in discharging their duties. And therefore, the committee reports favorably for the adoption of Standing Committee Report 2351. And I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. Any further discussions from the members? None? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
Yes.
Senator Cruz.
No.
Senator Hofschneider. Senator King Neighbors.
No.
Senator Magofnia.
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald.
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Poe. Senator Mendiola.
No.
Madam President.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm going back to Senator Hofschneider.
Madam President, before I cast my vote, I just wish to state for the record that on the two coordinating or cooperating agencies in the CNMI government, the OPA and Public Defender's Office have expressed their concern with this particular bill. Although I want to support improvement of the investigative power of the Attorney General's office, I believe that putting this back to committee or maybe addressing it with the two other agencies to meet the concerns or at least have an understanding, then it's probably going to compel myself to make a sound decision as far as this legislation itself in its current form. So my vote is no.
Clerk?
Madam President.
No.
Recess, please. Recess.
No.
Recess.
Short recess, please. We are back from recess. Clerk, please state the vote counts.
Madam President, 5 members voting no, and 4 members voting yes.
With 4 members voting yes and 5 members voting no, Standing Committee Report number 23-51 is defeated, and it did not get adopted by the Senate body. Now, members, we are going to go back on the agenda on item G, communications from the House. Clerk?
Madam President, we have 3 on our agenda, 23, 61 to 63.
Thank you, Clerk. And I will now recognize the floor leader to make a proper motion on item number 1.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to accept House Communication number 23-61 dated September 8, 2023, returning with amendments SB number 23-2 HS1 to amend 4 CMC subsection 2103 to enhance the Marianas Visitors Authority's promoting capabilities in attracting tourists to visit the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. There is a motion to accept the House Communication number 23-61 in reference to Senate Bill number 2302 HS1, and it has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? None. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babalta,
Yes.
Senator Cruz, Senator Hofschneider, Senator King Neighbors, Senator Maglonia.
Yes.
Senator Maglonia.
Yes.
Donald, Senator Maglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Mendiola,
Yes.
Madam President.
Yes.
Madam President, all 9 members voting yes.
With all 9 members voting yes for the acceptance of House Communication number 2361 with respect to Senate Bill number 2302 HS1, that includes the amendments, is hereby adopted by the Senate body and also passes Senate Bill number 2302 in a form of HS1. Moving on to item H, communications from the Senate clerk.
Madam President, we have 8 on our agenda, 23 to 57 to 264.
Any discussions from the members? Recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam President. This is in regards to Senate Communication 23-263. It's the agenda for the the conference committee meeting. As members are aware, we've begun deliberations on the budget in the conference committee. At this point, we are sort of at an impasse in regards to how many holidays we are going to suspend. The Senate conferees has agreed to no more than 5, but the House is proposing additional holiday suspension unless we can give the assurance that the Senate members will agree to some of the proposed legislations that the House will pre-file in the coming days. Some of these proposals include an increase to sugar sweetened beverage tax, tobacco tax, betel nut tax. I know they have a bill, the construction tax, that I think it's in committee or will be acted on by the House soon, and that's something that they hope that the Senate can consider. However, these tax increases will be used to address the shortfall in Medicaid funding as well as GHLI payments to both the active retirees, the active employees, and the retirees. So I hope that the Senate members is in favor of these tax increases, provided that these increases will go specifically to address GHLI and Medicaid. Again, there are some proposals that are going through in the House right now. We do have one bill in the Fiscal Affairs Committee that could add on an increase to tobacco, and that's House Bill 23-7. However the members feel about that, I hope that that's something that everyone can consider. And if so, I would like to request for the president to withdraw that from committee so that we can introduce a substitute that would address that, and hopefully the members can support. But I'd be open to any suggestions as to the tax rate that we're going to add on to the current tax structure for tobacco. This bill particularly only clarifies the definitions, but according to both House councils, we are able to use this as a mechanism to include additional taxes to all tobacco products. And so if all members, if there's no opposition from the members, I'd like to request that this be withdrawn from committee and act on it on the floor, and we can introduce a substitute to ensure that these additional taxes can be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Manglona, for your comments. Any other comments from the members? Senator Carl Neighbors.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I agree with the Vice President Monia. We were in deliberations with the House, and there, as he alluded to, that bill is in committee. The language has been discussed. We can talk about the increase and the rate adjustment for the tax, and it would help us. It would greatly help us in our deliberations for the budget this year. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Carl Neighbors. Any further discussions from the members? None? Okay, we're moving on to item I, communications from the Washington Delegate Clerk.
Madam President, we have 2301.
Comments from the members? None. Item J, unfinished business. There's none. Item K, pre-file bills, initiatives, local bills, and resolutions. At this time, I would like to recognize the author for the Senate Joint Resolution number 23-04, Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Jesus Mosi, Madam President, formally introducing Senate Joint Resolution to recognize and commend the partnership of Natural Resources Conservation Service and the National Association of Conservation Districts for their unified commitment to conservation and strategic agricultural initiatives.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Moving on to item L, introduction of bills, initiatives, local bills, and resolutions. Members? None? Moving on. Item N, reports of special conference committee. There is none. Item O, resolution calendar. There is none. Bill calendar, I now recognize the floor leader, but before floor leader, you make a motion on the first item on the final reading calendar. I do want to state for the record that Senate Bill number 23-41 and House Bill number 23-22 HS1 has been formally referred back to the standing committees of the Senate. And I recognize the floor leader to make your motion on the first item.
Thank you, Madam President. Under item P, we have Senate Bill number 23-32 to establish mandatory presentation of valid personal photo identification for any debit card or credit card transaction made in person and in any check, cash exchange, or purchase for all business establishments in the Commonwealth. I move for its passage.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia and floor leader. The motion to pass Senate Bill number 23-32 has been seconded. Any discussions from the members? Recognize Senator Selena Babauta.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill was referred to the JGO, and we have taken it up several times in committee, and we did in fact publish a committee report on it that was also referred back to the JGO committee. And I just want to state my opposition to this Senate bill for the very reasons that I stated back then. Visa and MasterCard have zero liability mechanisms in place wherein the account holder or card holder doesn't have to pay charges made fraudulently without their consent. Also, it doesn't necessarily curtail fraud, as many customers nowadays have turned to digitization and they conduct transactions online. Certainly, this bill will not protect that person because an identification cannot be presented online to make your purchases. Also, it doesn't speak to the ATM transactions. And this is a concern that Bank of Guam raised, that ATM transactions are also business transactions, as stated in the and it wasn't clarified in section 102 of the particular bill. And it would certainly be impossible to present an ID as well to conduct an ATM withdrawal or conduct an ATM transaction. Also, Title 12, Part 1005 of the Code of Federal Regulations, among its provision, specifies procedures that financial institutions like the Bank of Guam must follow for investigating and resolving errors alleged by the consumers. Mandating merchants to physically check consumer identification on every transaction may negatively affect the ease and convenience of wholly legitimate transactions. Also, in today's technological world, many debit and credit cards are stored in an e-wallet. It is stored on a smartwatch, a smartphone. You can easily tap your phone to a point of sale machine, and that they don't require identification for. Also, merchants also have the authority right now without legislation. They do it. As the Attorney General alluded to, I don't know what this bill intends to fix, but merchants are already allowed to ask for identification when suspecting fraud and illegal activities on someone's debit and credit card. And it may not be against any federal or local statute. I think that because mechanisms are in place with Visa, MasterCard, and all financial institutions, that this bill is unnecessary at this point or at this time, for the reasons I stated earlier. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. I recognize now the author, Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Madam President. As I mentioned in the past, that there's some individuals that are being victimized out in our community, and as we all know, it came on the paper, the most recent incident, a police sergeant that was his car was stolen, and because there's no mandatory law or statute that a establishment are mandate to verify whether the car belongs to that individual. So that's the reason why in regards to ordering online, let the authority, deal with that if there is a fraud happening online. But with our people that are being victimized here in the community, we're trying to protect them. So that's the reason why I introduced, and not because I wanna be recognized of this legislation, but because victims call my office and asking for assistance. How can we be able to prevent from individuals using their card without their permission? And even if a family member that are given the authority to go and swipe the card because mom and dad are not able to go to the store, even with that, older people have been victimized even with family members. So I think it's important that any establishment that individual presented a card should be verified whether that card belongs to that individual. So again, I ask the members of this body to consider the passing this legislation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I now recognize Senator Donald Manglona.
Thank you, Madam President. While I do commend the intent of the author to provide further safety and protection to the consumers, um, I think that this could still use further review in the sense that there are several avenues now that could circumvent a person walking directly into an establishment. This bill doesn't fully address the option of payment over the phone. It doesn't address current mechanisms to make payments, such as PayPal, Cash App, online transfer, if the person has access to these accounts. It's similar to a person who may have access to the card may also have access to this person's online account through PayPal or Cash App or something of that effect. And so, how do we safeguard that aspect of using a debit card, which is stored in these applications to make payments to other establishments that are not particularly a brick and mortar establishment? And so I think that, well, I hope that maybe rather than pushing this through, and we can either continue to amend it on floor, or I hope that whether this does pass, I hope that the House considers those factors in trying to make this bill better. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Donald Manglona. Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Vice President, for your suggestion. But this bill came before this body the last time, and it was almost a shelf and was decided to return to the committee. But it was sitting in the committee for a while and nothing has been done. I don't know why this just now that there is a concern that needs to be amended. I appreciate amendment on the bill to make it better, but I was hoping that it was amended already or it was fixed already at the committee level. But because it's nothing has been done, I asked our good Madam President to bring it out, and because we've seen the last incident, people have been victimized, and like I said, if that's a concern to make it better, why is not nothing has been done in the committee level? So again, I appreciate your comment on my bill, but I ask that we proceed with the bill, and if you don't want to support it, I appreciate that too. But let's put it on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you, Madam President. And as to the concerns raised by Senator Cruz of a recent incident, police sergeant whose wallet or card was stolen, I am almost certain that all the charges that were fraudulently made without the officer's consent would have been returned unquestioned by Visa because they have that mechanism. I personally myself have had unauthorized charges on my card and it's a Visa, and they have returned every single penny. And like I said, there's mechanisms in place that protect consumers. Additionally, merchants today can certainly ask for ID without statute. You know, as to what occurred with the police sergeant, it's unfortunate that the merchant did not ask for it, but they can. There's nothing stopping them right now from doing it. And as to, nothing being done in the committee, it was because this committee, like you said, was brought up before this body, and it was the intention to file that in the committee report. It was recommended to file it, and it was thrown back to the committee again. And it was the decision of the committee then, and it is, based on the justification and deliberations we have conducted in the committee, it was recommended to file it because there's nothing that this attempts to fix. The banks already are adhering to federal regulations. Visa and MasterCard over the years have improved their protection to consumers. And I personally have experienced that. And I yield. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Senator Babauta. I think we have enough discussions regarding this particular legislation. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babauta,
No.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
I'm good.
Senator King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Dano,
No.
Senator Manglonia Paul, Senator Mindiola.
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes,
7 members voting yes, 2 members voting no.
we have 7 members voting yes, 2 members voting no. Senate Bill number 23-32 hereby passes the Senate. Moving on to item Q, petitions, memorials, and miscellaneous communications. Clerk?
We have 4, Madam President, 23, 64 to 67.
Any comments from the members? None? Moving on to item R, announcements. Senators, any announcements? Senator Donald Manglonia, please.
Thank you, Madam President. As a reminder, we do have HEW committee meeting this afternoon, but additionally, members, if any of you, any non-conference committee members would like to offer their proposal in terms of these tax bills prior to tomorrow's 9:30 a.m. meeting, we'd be certainly happy to hear from you to ensure that this is something that we can bring to the House to solidify our position in terms of how we're going to support these future tax increase bills so that we can move forward. Again, one more time, right now with the 5 holidays that we've agreed to suspend, this would be applied as a further hourly reduction across the full fiscal year, which again will result in close to maybe 1 or 2 hours additional reduction each pay period. Any more than that 5 holidays would result again in further hourly cuts. And so I hope that your consideration and your input in regards to these tax proposals is something that you can share, that we can also share with the House so that they can improve the bill on their side before it hits the Senate, and that we can pass all these tax bills expeditiously. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Donald Manglonia. Any further comments? Senator Hofschneider?
Thank you, Madam President. I just thank you, Vice President and Chair, for your leadership also in the budget deliberation. I do want to state for the record that although we are scrambling to find the needed revenue, I must cautious the members of the legislature about tax increases in this time of day. But we're put in a situation where we need to find the needed revenue stream to complete the cycle. I want to state for the record, although I've tried it in the past, please, because you asked for suggestion, please consider the currency export fee. That is one revenue stream that we may be able to capture because that particular initiative is targeting revenues that are made in the CNMI and are being exported and never to circulate within our community here. It is quite a sensitive initiative, but if we explain it to the people, it's the money that we're targeting. It's not the group of people that are. So again, thank you, Mr. President. I'm Vice President for your leadership, and please, I hope that you take a look at that. I gave a copy of the legislation to one of the House members of the currency export, and I hope they consider it sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hofstadter. Any further announcements from the members? None? Recognize floor leader now for the adjournment of the session.
Thank you, Madam President. I now offer a motion to adjourn this session subject to the call of the president.
There is a motion to adjourn this session. It has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Nays, this session is hereby adjourned. Thank you, senators.